Alpha Star Radio. We have a good show in store for you tonight. Tonight I'm joined by a co-host from another radio show here on DTM, a sister show called Aliens, UFOs, and Beyond, and he co-hosts with Christina George. He is part of PPRS, Psychic Paranormal Research Society. He's the lead paranormal and investigator with them, and he's also affiliated in some way, not officially, with MUFON of Sacramento chapter. And tonight we're going to be discussing some interesting stuff. I've been fascinated with it for many, many years now. And this is Stargates. We're also going to discuss underwater alien bases, and I don't think time's going to permit where we're going to talk about the USGS. That might be for another show. Those who are familiar with my show know that Renee has been on before. It was probably when I was with Blog Talk and not DTM. I could be wrong, though. But, Renee, welcome.
One second, Lynn. I'm still just patching him in. He'll be right here in just a minute.
Okay, we're waiting on Renee. So I want to ask all of my listening audience out there this question tonight. Why is America's biggest Air Force base in Iraq right next to a source of one of the biggest controversies, probably one of the biggest conspiracy theories of all times, and that is the Sumerian-Anunnaki connection? The ruins of this ancient Sumerian city of Ur is in a desolate corner of southern Iraq. The settlements of this site have began so long ago that the city is mentioned in the Old Testament. The temple tower known as the ziggurat has quietly witnessed at least 400,000 years ago of much history.
Just call on the blog, you're good to go.
The suns and fleeting moons have lingered upon its steep walls. It is an incredible and very interesting subject that we're going to discuss tonight. What if I told you that the war in the Middle East really has nothing to do with oil at all? Is my brother on with me now?
One second, little technical issue.
Okay. Still waiting on Renee. All good. We will wait for him. But anyway, I chose Renee to come on this show with me because not only is he a pillar of knowledge in this subject, but he also possesses a lot of non-human-like characteristics, and I won't say any more than that. I will leave that to your imagination. But there are things going on and have been going on for a great many years in this part of the world, and our media probably doesn't even know about this. Our president does.
Hello, Mr. Chavez. Okay, I'm gonna patch you right in. We can go right live with Linda. Have a great time.
Interesting subject. Still waiting on my guest, so I'm gonna jump right in.
No, he's there. He's there.
Renee?
Yeah.
Hey, there's my brother. All right. Well, I was there you go. Well, I was just talking about kind of Stargates and the ziggurat. Am I even pronouncing that right?
Yes, you are.
Righty then. And I was talking about why America's biggest Air Force base in Iraq is right next to a source. Maybe you can give us a little 411 on this subject.
Sure thing.
All right.
Well, okay. If you ever wondered about the, people having such a power of some kind of control over a Stargate, whoever has control of it basically can almost control the Earth, basically, because of all the secrets it has. It's a doorway to other worlds as well as dimensional other dimensions. So anyone who has that kind of control can have so much power over one planet. And you already know how our dear government loves to have control over things.
Oh, yes. They're masters at it.
Yeah. So, since like the days when the Roswell crash took place and everything, They got to have the technology. Any kind of crap that comes down, they got to have it. So even such a person like Hitler always was looking for the mystic powers of one thing or another. Even seeing the spirit medium and try to so he can have a control over whatever he wants to get his hands into. So the American government is no different. Britain is doing exactly the same thing, and so they got this whole league of nations, so to speak, working together to have control over the various places where there's supposed to be various stargates. Most of the stargates aren't fully operational at this time, but there are so much out there that's being discovered, even in Mexico. In fact, they're actually doing some digging under I believe, the Temple of the Moon, when they found hidden passages in these areas. So there is a gate there too. So
now, let me just ask you this: what is a ziggurat? Is that a stargate? Is that
ziggurat? They say a ziggurat is basically a temple, a sacred temple, which houses the stargate.
Okay.
You can look at all these other temples around the world, as well as in China. There was one when Atlantis was here. It's basically a temple that houses the gate. And only those certain people or other beings are allowed to go to and fro from these particular gates.
Okay, now our government is aware of this, correct? Some of our
Yes.
government. Not all, but some.
Not all, some.
Do you
The elite, as you could say.
Right. Do you think Obama is aware of this at all?
Yeah, he's a very big part of it. Matter of fact, he also went to Stonehenge because of his curiosity about the lore that goes behind it, because there's a lot more than just it being the lore, because it was an actual gate where beings came to and from those very places. Most of the stargates are where the ley lines are. So the Egyptians knew this. That's how they built things in order to be in alignment with the various stars, as well as in alignment with the ley lines.
Okay.
So,
Let me ask you another question here. Who
sure.
built these? The original architecture of these stargates. Who built them? Where did they come from?
Well, they came from the various races. Anunnaki was one. The Zetas were part of it. The Pleiadians were a part of it. The Taurans, Arcturans, Draconians, Andromedans. They were the earliest ones. You have the Tall Whites, the Zions, the Raskish, and Orions, and the Thalans. So these are just a few, but they had like the main 12, basically.
Would the Nordics be that in that? Okay.
Yeah. They have like subdivision groups. You have your main 12, but then you have your others that break off into different sectors. That keeps control of the various gates of these holy places. Even in other worlds, they have the same amount of people taking care of these certain things, where they have to go through a council to get permission to actually go through these particular gates.
Now,
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures that I've drawn before with the star maps kind of thing that I've done. I think it's on my page. I'll post them on your page. That way you'll be able to see what the star maps would look like.
What I find interesting is you say there's 12 alien races, I guess we could call them, that are the builders of these. But I find that number very fascinating, and those who've listened to my show before know that 12 is a very metaphysical number. 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 apostles, 12 hours in the day, and now you're telling me 12 alien races. There's a connection there, big time. And for people who haven't opened up their third eye yet will never get this. I'm not doing that in the chat. I know people are getting this. So
yeah, it's interesting too, because you got your like the 12 tribes of Israel kind of thing. It's the same process all the way down the line. And then within those various groups, then you have what's called like the 24 elders. So in other words, you have to go to these 24 elders, which is basically your council. And they are the ones that decide who's going to go through it, who's allowed to go through it, do they pass the criteria of coming through these gates. But ever since they had the war out there, a lot of these gates have been shut down because they don't want any more chaos between these worlds. Costing more lives than they are. Bad enough we got renegades down here. So it makes it really hard to, regain control, because now we've got the government learning about the secrets. They're playing around with this power. Last week, I believe that the Ark of the Covenant was actually stolen. So that's new.
It was stolen, and I didn't even know it was found. I did not.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the Magi of Ethiopia was guarding it, and apparently, from what was described, were black helicopters. Yeah, they came in Black Hawks or whatever, so most likely it's the U.S. and the British who got it.
Wow. I remember a couple of weeks ago I was texting you by cell phone, Facebook, and I said I was talking about Black Hawk helicopters. Now I've seen a whole bunch of them, and I was in San Jose that day. And we were having this discussion about the intensity of the military and the things that the average person doesn't notice, but the ones who are awake and aware, we're noticing just weird shit happening.
Yeah. The government's all getting ready for something pretty major happening. And the really big concern that I have when they're trying out these stargates, it's like, the ziggurat, back in the Middle East, if they turn that in particular on, they would actually trigger the opening of Hades. So you're going to have all kinds of activity from spirit forms to interdimensional forms and everything else coming through. And it also affects the gravitational pull of our own planet, which could also trigger earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and pulling in asteroids and meteors. So if you don't have the right combination, you're going to cause a catastrophe.
I agree with that. And I'm going to bring this up because it's relevant right now. I don't know if you read about the discovery made in the Bermuda Triangle in the last few days.
Right.
Okay,
right.
And these guys that found this, there's a crystal pyramid coming out of the water. There's a picture of it. So for the people in my chat, and there's a few of you in there that are skeptics and denying this, archaeologists don't lie because the stuff is at the bottom of the ocean and there's pictures to prove it, and I can show you, and so can Renee. They found all these ancient pyramids down there just a few days ago.
Yeah, it's a crystal pyramid, and is one of the most original ones that were around during the Atlantis period. And because of what's going on, that one had to activate. So it looks like we're going to probably have like the cavalry come in to try to fix the problem of what the governments have started.
Well, I've been following that Bermuda Triangle stuff for a great many years, and through the years, I've heard things like there are governments already known this is probably there. There's been, I don't remember what show it was I was watching. It's probably one of those sci-fi channels, of course, but the Navy has like this barrier in the Bermuda Triangle. I don't know, it's like off the coast of Florida, and the guys that were diving found it like really bizarre. I was like, okay, this is kind of strange, and you can't get into, even when diving, there's something that's barricading it, like a water wall of some sort.
Yeah.
I think our government already knows. It explains a lot. What's your take on it?
They definitely know what's going on, and I think they're rather afraid of it, and that's why a lot of forces are building up, and, of course, like we're seeing a lot of military activity, even in our own area in California taking place. There's a lot of activity there. And also in Japan, there's a temple underwater there of big structures, and they're supposed to have a crystal pyramid there as well. So I'm not sure if that one's activated yet or not. I wouldn't doubt it because of all the extra activity that's going on with the volcanoes and the earthquakes and so forth too, tsunamis.
What do you think? Do you think that this is part of Atlantis? I mean, because I've researched Atlantis a lot. Ever since I was a kid, I've been fascinated with Atlantis. I don't know why, it's just something, as a kid, that's all I wanted to talk about. Atlantis. And, do you think this is Atlantis?
Atlantis is, I feel that it is a portion of it. It's the power source, more likely, of Atlantis, but it was such a metropolis, a hub between worlds. Especially when you have a super large mothership kind of thing, it would come through that particular gate. So that's the thing that you need to look at. There's part of Atlantis there, because it's more than one city of Atlantis too, because they connect. And so, like, they still call it Atlantis because they run off the same power source.
Do you think that, I've heard people say that Atlantis, they think it's off the coast of Portugal. I've heard other people say, it was in the middle of the Atlantic, and then I hear people say it is part of the Bermuda Triangle. With this recent discovery, I'm almost, steering more towards the Bermuda Triangle because of all the electromagnetic energy.
Yeah.
The years, and then that crystal pyramid being found.
Yeah, that's the target zone right there. So that's where the main power source, where the major disaster that took place, for the city of went under. But, from my opinion, what I pick up is the city is actually still there, but it's covered. You just can't see it.
Very interesting.
So, yeah.
Well, this is to be continued with the whole, Stargate thing, and I know that in the next few months we're going to see some interesting things taking place in the Middle East. I know this from doing the stars and seeing what I see and knowing what I know. I think...
The tail of the dragon, right?
Well, we're on the tail in Aries, yes, but, you learned about that the other night. Yes, I was listening to that show, by the way. But yes, you are in the tail of Aries, but the next one coming is the tail of Pisces, and you will see the destruction of religion completely. We're in the new age of Aquarius, so our futuristic brothers are, as much as some people don't want to believe this, us humans are infantile. We are nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We are just, I don't know how to explain it. It's easier, we're very young souls, human beings in general, compared to other species that are out there. And if you believe that you're the only, human race is the only source in this galaxy, well, you are very sadly mistaken.
There are so many humans out there, the only ones that really come close to the human type of beings with basically your Star Trek shows, and maybe a little bit of Babylon 5 mixed in there. So, yeah, there's a lot of human races out there, not just Earth. So, and a lot of people get a lot of things confused about the whole reptilian thing. They only come from this one spot, but actually, when you think about it, it comes from a vast direction that surrounds us. So, just because everybody thinks, well, Draco, that must be where the reptilians come from. They come from everywhere, just like the Zetas come from a certain area, and they explore, just like we do.
I'm glad you brought up the reptilian thing. I wasn't going to bring up reptilians because it just wasn't in my notes tonight. But I'm really glad you did bring this up because I really think there is a false misconception of the reptilians. People have portrayed reptilians to be evil and this and they're that. And
we taste like chicken.
You taste chicken, yes. Everyone tastes like chicken. But in reality, whether we're in the human world or the alien world, and this pertains to everyone, there's always a few bad apples in the barrel. It doesn't matter what species you are. You know what I'm saying?
No, not at all. All in all, what really counts is what's inside, because we all came from the source. We came from the universe. The God light, whatever you call it. Just because we have a different vessel that we live in, if we can see beyond the outer shell, then you'd be able to have an understanding of what each species is, each individual is like, and that's what helps creating that unity, universal unity.
Interesting.
Just because somebody's a reptilian, it doesn't mean they're a bad guy.
That's very true, and it makes me sad because I've read a lot of very negative stuff about. In fact, there was an article just recently on the internet about how if a human being feels drained or feels this, there were like 10 things, a list of 10 things that symptoms of something that means that your soul and your spirit is being drained by a reptilian, and I just think that is so absurd,
Yeah, and that has to depend on, whatever reptilian race that is, if they have harmful intent, because there's good and bad in every species, so, and that's the reason why we had the freaking war up there, because they disagreed, they want to follow the universal law, so they took the law in their own hands and started making a mess of what's going on down here. So we see the results of that. So it just makes it really difficult for mankind to look at reptilians as being nice, because we've been darkened by the darker ones.
Right. Well, I love reptilians, and I'm very fond of lizards, so. You know I have a soft spot for lizards. That's my insect. Well, so Renee, why don't we shift gears a little bit now that we had someone in our chat that was a little I think the person was a little offended, but I was just asking questions because that's what I do, and he got kicked out of the chat. But it was just kind of funny because he's talking very scientific. This person, I can tell, hostility to criticism is the telltale sign of pseudoscience. So obviously,
Yeah.
I was dealing with an atheist. I was dealing with someone who doesn't believe in any kind of higher power whatsoever, whether alien or anything else.
his idea of the higher power is a 9-volt battery.
I agree with that. That is a good way to say it. I have one more question before we jump to the next topic. Explain a little bit to me, if you can, and I didn't discuss this with you, so tell me, Linda, you've caught me off guard. The Anunnaki, does this all correlates to this, the Anunnaki? Planet Narubi?
Yeah,
is this all correlation to this?
A lot of it is. All the species that were part of this 12 all had a part with mankind to try to get us to grow, to the point of becoming self-aware. But then you have another portion of it. Anunnakis had their own idea of what to do, and that's why we end up facing with, dealing with the slavery and so forth, and all the other crazy stuff that we picked up through the thousands of years. And that's why everything's so freaking lost. Part of the reason why we have atheists is because they can't tell what's what unless they feel, touch it, and see it.
Exactly.
They haven't made the connection.
I get bashed by them all the time. I'm used to it. I will take a Christian any day over an atheist, because Christians, they believe in something, and you can't go through life thinking that science is the creator of everything, because 10,000, 20,000 years ago, especially in the line of work I do in astrology, my line of work is the original science of astronomy. So science is very young, it's very infantile, and there are things that have happened 4, 5, 10, 20, 30,000 years ago. Science will never be able to explain. You know what I'm saying? There's just some things in this world science will not be able to explain, because science is a young scientific method. Simply put, it's not ancient.
That's something interesting that you bring that up too, because when we think of science, it's just basically trying to use actual science and instrumentations and research and science trying to help you along the way, try to solve something that's miraculous, try to solve something that, how did that happen? How did this get here? Science has been around for eons. To at one point used to be considered magic. And it's just a matter of understanding, what the pseudoscience and spirituality have all in common, because it's all connected. Doesn't always have to be something about the same physics that we go by down here. Because everybody looks at physics. It's it's impossible. It doesn't follow physics, and it's like, well, maybe in this world, but in their world, physics is entirely different. Just when you go into another dimension, it makes sense. Probably not, unless you lived it.
True. Very true. You can't assume anything in this world. You know what I mean? There are things that we have no clue about, especially as humans. And it's a very interesting subject. I just have one more question about this Anunnaki. Is there a Christ consciousness connection to this? Because everyone talks about, Christ is going to return, and Christ is, and I don't see it that way. I don't believe that Christ is not going to return, but something is coming back that is not necessarily in the image of him, but I strongly believe that Christ was an ET. Christ was an extraterrestrial. He was not human. Am I way off base here?
He's definitely not human. He himself, when he was down here, he said he's not of this world. He straight up said it. I am not of this world, So, yeah, and he is, ruler of his people from where he's from. He is a king. So, yeah.
What's interesting is Christians, consider him the King of Kings. He's the king. But what's kind of interesting is there may come a time, and I kind of hope it's in my lifetime and yours, Renee, where we find out that he's the king of one of these 12 tribes you just announced earlier, the 12 alien tribes, as I'm going to call them. He's probably affiliated with one of those, the Palladians or the Anunnaki or the Taurian, the Draconians.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head right there. Because, I know you've read about my bio and stuff like that. We've talked about it before. About my father was the king of his people, so that would make me a prince. But since he's passed on, that would make me one once I go back home. So it's just taking on the responsibilities of these stargates and the whole sector that we have to keep the peace.
And for those of you who are wondering,
how we get along.
Those of you who are wondering out there what Renee is talking about, I don't usually advertise it, but he brought it up. So I would say I would consider you a human hybrid. Would that be the right choice of words for?
I'm just a walk-in.
You're the walk-in. Okay. I have seen Renee's stars, so I know how Renee ticks. He's my brother. I connected with him long ago, and we had an instant connection. And I've seen Renee's stars, and I know that Renee is from, maybe even another dimension, I would say, because there aren't too many people I can have a conversation about this topic with that are educated in it, are spot on with their facts, and it's very far and few between. You could probably school some of the people I see on TV talking about this better than they are. But that's just my opinion, because I'm partial to you,
Yeah, flush. Okay.
I know. Woo-hoo. Anyway, fascinating subject on this, and I'm going to shift gears now that we're at the half-hour mark, because I want to tackle the next question at hand, and that stargates go hand in hand. I'm sure there are underwater stargates. Who knows? Is that possible?
Oh, yeah.
Underwater stargates?
Oh, yeah. There's plenty of them. Yeah, because we always hear about the USOs, underwater UFOs that would go travel in the water. Yeah, there's definitely stargates down there, and there's even larger craft that we don't even see hiding in the depths of the ocean. One of the places is close to where you are. And
Yes,
it
is.
There's a craft down there, a base down there where they're hiding. So, yep, absolutely.
Yes, it does bring me to the topic of underwater alien bases. And before we get into that, I want to tell you something, Renee. I grew up here on the Monterey Peninsula, and I hung out at the beach a lot, and I hung out with a lot of surfers. And this actually happened recently. I don't surf or anything, but I am a beach goer, and I go there. Everyone who knows me here at DTM knows that me going to the beach is my psychiatrist. It's my therapy. I connect and recharge and regenerate with water. And I have a friend who is a surfer, and he's in his late 40s now. He's actually a practicing dentist here on the peninsula, and he loves to surf. And about 6 years ago, he never told anybody. He just told me. And he was telling me he was surfing out on a Silmar beach, and those of you who are listening to me that are local, you'll know where that is. The rest of you can go do Google Earth, and you'll find it, and you'll be very impressed with how beautiful it is. He said he was out surfing by himself. There was nobody out there at 6 in the morning. And he said he didn't have a camera. He was surfing. There was no cell phone. And he was waiting and paddling out there, waiting for the best, a good wave to ride in. And he told me that this is over by Silmar, so this is nowhere where I'm getting ready to bring up, Southern California. This is over in the Monterey Peninsula, where we have some of the deepest, darkest canyons that there are on the whole Pacific coast there. And he said he saw something come out of the water, a bright light came out of the water and took off into the sky. He says, I can't, it happened so fast and so quick. He kind of just sat there going, I know I did a lot of acid in the 60s, and am I having a flashback of something, or did I really, really experience that? You know? He goes, oh my God, what did I just experience? He never reported it. He never contacted MoveOn. But he decided he was going to tell me his story. I actually believe him. What do you think of that, Renee? Is that possible?
That is very possible. You know me, I'm always all over Google Earth, checking out for bases and stuff like that, military bases, secret bases of the U.S. and so on. But I also knew about the one particular base out there by Malibu. And it's huge. It's a very large base. And I've known about that base since I was in high school. And I'm 53 right now, so that gives you an idea how long ago that was when I knew about that base. And now it's been reaching, going viral on Facebook and YouTube and so forth, that people are talking about this particular base off of Malibu. And it's not the only one there. There's actually one just a few miles south of that, in fact. Looking at it right now, actually. And UFOs have been popping out of those areas for years. Right along the Catalina Island and off of Huntington Beach, even out in those areas, and so forth, all the way down to Mexico. So there are more than one base out there, but there's one that everybody's talking about right now. Pretty good size. Kind of has like this oval shape that totally doesn't look natural. It looks like it has these openings on the sides, on both sides, in fact. So it's definitely a very, very large base, and it goes, several feet underneath, from what you see already. So it's huge.
And this is the one near Malibu. I think I wrote my notes on it.
Yeah.
Well, the Huffington Post back in June of 2014 reported that a little more than 6 miles off the coast of Malibu, an unusual-looking structure sits on the seabed floor. Based on the images obtained from Google Earth, the oval-shaped object has a huge flat top and what appears to be pillars or columns that seem to reveal the entrance to a darker inner place. I have seen those pictures, and they're absolutely right. It does look like an opening to something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on both sides of the object too. So it's one looks like a viewing area, and the other side looks like it has a column on it as well. So I know about this place, like I said, since high school.
Well, and that's why I know who to go to for the answers that we need on this, because you are a pillar of knowledge in the subject. Now, I want to ask you this. This is a big one off the coast of Malibu, and I've done some research on it myself, and there's been a lot of strange reports coming from Santa Catalina Island, the island there?
Yeah.
And even fishermen have said they've seen a lot of weird stuff. I always say, when you want to go and get information, go talk to some fishermen, because they're always on the water.
Exactly.
They're mariners. They're always on the water, so they've seen some stuff. And unfortunately, I should have asked my father-in-law this. My late father-in-law lost his life as a commercial fisherman off the coast of Coos Bay in '98, and I really should have asked him more stuff about this, because he's been everywhere, from the coast of San Diego all the way up to, Vancouver, British Columbia. You name it, he fished it. Are there other bases that you're aware of besides the one in Malibu? That's a big one. Are there other bases that you are aware of that are around?
Yeah, I know there's one off the coast of Florida. Matter of fact, because it used to be a sub base, basically, for during the wartime. But also they made it a heck of a lot bigger, and they have a lot more things. Matter of fact, even UFO hunters actually did a story on that too, on that particular base. We got bases all the way up and down California that are underwater, like I said, close to your areas, and I believe there's one near Alaska, in fact, too. And there's one that I've been watching lately, and it's like it moved. Yeah, it looks like it's been moving. And
it moved.
Yeah. So that's why I was looking at it as it being a base at first, but then it looked like it. I guess when
it's moving.
Yeah.
North,
so apparently,
south, east.
Actually moving east, and it's shaped like an arrowhead.
And this is the one near Malibu.
Yeah. There's one. Yeah, it's pretty close to the big base, and it's moving kind of eastward really slowly, and it's shaped like got a big giant arrowhead. And I did some measurements on it, and it's like it moved like another 10 miles. It's like what?
Wow.
Measured the measurements where it was, and then I measured it again, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not right.
Well, those of you out there, today is the king of Google Earth. No, you are. I mean, I have a hard time figuring out Google Earth, but you've got it down pat. And if anyone can observe Google Earth, it's you. I find that amazing, that it's moving. That I'm just kind of curious, where is it moving to and why?
Yeah, when you got something like that size, and this, I don't know what happened, if it just decided to move slowly east, or it took off and then landed on a different spot. So that's why I kind of wondered about that too. So I don't know why it's moving, why it's in a different spot from where it was before, or they forgot where they parked before. I don't know.
They're drinking alien wine.
I like to have some myself.
Alien wine, yes, I agree. That would be fun. Interesting.
I'll that blue stuff.
There you go. Good vintage, right? Let's see. Now, BJ's asking a question in the chat, Renee, and it says, do you ever spy, Renee? LOL. I spy.
Actually, I do. Actually, I do. I found nuclear facilities in China where they have stockpiles where they're building nuclear weapons. I found those areas. I found stuff in Russia. I found stuff there. Just Middle East stuff. I looked through all what's going on over there too. So yeah, my friend Robin Scott knows the stuff that I see.
She's in the chat right now. Yes, hi Robin. We're chatting away. Let me ask you this. You gave me some calculations. This is a long, long time ago. And I was able to do it on Google Earth miraculously. But I did it. And it was calculations for a base in the Antarctica. You know which one I'm talking about. That was interesting because I was looking at that going, oh my God, he's right.
Oh yeah, yeah. See that huge ship there? It's big. There's, I know, again, by remote view. Yes, I do remote view, and I've been doing it. Like I said, since high school, that's how I found the underwater base in the first place. There are some things about Delphi that's a really big thing too. It has several levels where they're doing genetic engineering with alien technology and so forth. Also, Plum Island, where more genetic engineering is being done there, and some of these creatures have actually been released to see how they survived out in the free world. So,
wow.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember, there's a game and also a movie of Resident Evil, and they're showing stuff about the Umbrella Corporation who's supposed to be doing all these weird experiments. If you go to Plum Island and you look at their hero pad, and everything that resembles exactly what Umbrella Corporation is, and that's where they're doing all the genetic engineering. And I thought, I guess it's not too far from the truth on what was being shown on these movies. You know, you're dealing with zombies and weird-looking creatures and everything. So our governments are doing far more what is actually true to like the movies that we're actually seeing.
I agree with that. In fact, BJ just asked the question that, where is that testing site somewhere on an island in East Coast? I think she's talking about Montauk Island. Could I be wrong on that, Renee? Or?
That is Plum Island. That is Plum Island. It's right up by New York, by Montauk Beach. It's just north of Montauk Beach.
And would that be Plum Island?
Yes.
Is that
that would be Plum Island.
Thank you, Victor the Voice. I'm only familiar with
do,
boroughs in New York. Go on, Renee.
Yeah. New York. Yeah.
New York.
And yeah, I'll post some pictures of that to your page, and that way you'll be able to see the building and so forth on there of the island itself. So, I took some snapshots with Google Earth, and I'll send them over to you. So there you go.
Oh, cool. I'll share those on my Facebook page with everyone. What was I going to ask you? I had a question in hand here, and I almost forgot. Let me go look at my notes here to read. I have one other question. It does go back to Stargate, so please forgive my ADD moment here as I jump around from one topic to another. Stargates. Back to Stargates for just a minute. Besides the Middle East, are there any Stargates in the United States? Just like there's underwater alien bases around the world? I mean...
Yeah.
Where are those
Superstition Mountain. Superstition Mountain.
Where's that?
It's in Arizona, and also... Where else? I forget what the other part is. Yeah.
Mexico, maybe? The Southwest.
Mexico, there's places in Mexico. And all over Mexico itself, they all have specific purposes why those gates were even used. And
Central America, maybe?
Central America, exactly. And there are some hidden cities in the not the Nile, but South America, in the Amazon area. So there's hidden places there, which I don't think they're highly active, except for where the UFO sightings are around those areas.
Interesting.
Because they don't feel threatened there by government.
Well, that was my next question. They probably set up camp there because I always say that if there's ever going to be a discovery, you hope and pray that it's found by anyone but the United States.
Yeah. I agree with you. They find something that seems to be has a strong power to it. They're going to want to keep it, and they're going to turn it into some stupid weapon or use it to their advantage and take over people's lives like they already have. So.
That's what they do. They never use it to the betterment of humanity. It's always for their own selfish intent and for their own corporate greed. It's just like them discovering, the invention of the microwave, Velcro. These are all things that didn't come from this world. it had to be introduced to us through the Roswell thing.
Yeah.
And other discoveries. You know what I
And
mean?
it's funny. The only thing that we're going to get that's actually useful is Velcro. You know, we have things that use free energy, and they're going to give us Velcro? What?
I know. That's kind of a cheap shot there, don't you think?
Exactly. You know, so I look at all their BS that we're no longer going to use the space shuttle, and we're no longer going to be sending ships up there, but yet we got this other craft that they have already, been sending up for years already, before even the space shuttle was even decommissioned.
That's true.
And so
I have always felt.
using,
go ahead,
right.
Renee. You go right ahead, huh?
They've just been using all this technology for many, many years, and then they give us this whole bull crap of technology that's, we're still using rockets when they have other stuff that's anti-gravity already.
Propulsion. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And what's interesting is these high-tech companies like Lockheed Martin and DuPont, they always get the patent on it because it's not really about helping humanity like a lot of our futuristic brothers want to do. They want to help better humanity and make us evolve into a better species, but it's always our higher elites that seem to put a kibosh on that because it's all about the mighty dollar, My grandmother was right when she said the root of all evil was money. It makes people turn ugly. Grandma was right. I see the ugliness of people when it comes to money.
Yeah. And it's amazing that, people who are the light workers trying to bring out this truth, the poorest source saps that there is, because we can't barely make ends meet, because they're making sure that we don't. Because if we had the right resources, we would be dangerous.
Absolutely. And maybe there's a reason for us not having that power yet. I sometimes think our futuristic brothers know better than us because we're not capable of handling it. There's one more question coming from the chat, Renee, and we only have a few minutes left, so I want to ask it. It's from BJ, and she wants to know, what do you think of the shuttle landing on the meteor? What's your take on that?
I was looking at the pictures from that, actually, what it looks like there and everything, and it definitely looks totally like really unearthly, that's for sure. And there's what I'm getting, they're trying to get whatever material they can off of that so they can learn about it, and they found some other material that you would not find here at all, that you would find off like off a crash UFO kind of material.
So is that the whole point to it? Scientific research?
Yeah, I think it's more to that.
Okay.
And it's not for our benefit.
Yes, we're in the dark once again, right?
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I hope that helped.
Right, a lot of money.
Yes, it is a lot of money. Well, we spend our taxes go to all that NASA stuff and all that research. I mean, there was just a rocket that just blew up with $200 million worth of stuff. Just like, no big deal. Our taxpayers will repay that.
Yeah.
It's on the backs of all of us schmucks,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what, Renee? We're almost out of time. You've been an incredible guest, as always. You always are when you're on my show. We have good energy together.
Thank you.
We'll have to do this again. Those of you who know me well, I usually have Renee on 2 or 3 times a year because he is a very interesting, educated person on these matters. You guys, I know. Are you blushing now? Well, I did tell you didn't have to wear your pants on air. You could have gone pantsless. No one would have known. Sorry, guys. It's our little inside joke once again. I told you I'd broadcast Alpha, so I've let the cat out of the bag now. Renee, will you join me again sometime soon, my brother?
Oh, absolutely.
It would be my pleasure to have you on the show again. Everybody out there, thank you so much. Give a hand to my lovely guest, Renee Chavez of PPRS, and Aliens, UFOs, and Beyond, and that is on every, Wednesday night? 6 o'clock East Pacific time?
Yeah, 6 5 Pacific time. Yep, exactly.
6 o'clock Pacific,
Astrology.
9. There you go, and it's a 2-hour show. Everyone out there, have an awesome weekend, and I will return next week with another incredible guest. Have a good one. Good night. Thank you, Renee.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.